Hey guys, and welcome back to the top 10 Minecraft video, and in this video I'm going to be doing top 10 mods. Now this is such a common thing obviously because we have so many mod showcases, hundreds or thousands of mods to go through, and I've picked out my top 10. Obviously we all have top 10 favorites and top 10 least favorites and that kind of thing, but I've decided to go through 10 popular mods and also really unpopular ones also, and go through them to see which ones are classed on my top 10. So let's get started. At number 10 we have the Minimap mod. This is a mod that at any point whilst you're playing the game you will have a minimap somewhere on your screen. You can choose where to place it. It can be circular, it can be square shaped, and it's really handy because at all times whilst playing you will know where all the trees are, where all the mobs are, and it's just really handy to have with you at all times. One of the best things though is that you don't really have to bring up your normal Minecraft map because at all times you obviously have this map with you, and it's just really handy. One of the also great things about this mod is that you can place markers, so you can see where your marker is anywhere in game, which is obviously really handy to have so you don't get lost. And I have personally been lost, and this is definitely something really handy to have, and that's why it's at my number 10, because it's just really handy and really convenient. And it doesn't take up much of the screen space either, so that's obviously a really good thing. At number 9 we have the Sail and the Fly mod. It pretty much does whatever it is in the title. You can create yachts, you can create hot air balloons, you can fly those around. If you create ships, you can drive those ships around. It's really handy, and one of the best things about this mod is that you can literally drive cruise ships around. And that's just one of the most awesome things I've seen. And as you can see here, I've just created a basic ship to try out, and this is the steering wheel of the whole ship. So you sit down, you get yourself ready, you register your ship, and you get everything sorted out, and then you are able to drive the ship around. And as you can see, it's moving, and it's just one of the funnest mods I've ever done. But obviously as you're trying to drive the bigger ships around, you've got to have a decent computer, really powerful computer, to be able to render and to be able to be able to keep up with what you're doing, especially with the bigger ships. With the smaller ships, there's not many problems, but besides that, this is definitely a great mod to try out. At number 8 we have the Shaders mod. One of the main reasons why this is at my top 10 is because everything is just so lifelike. Like, look at the reflection on the ocean. As you can see, it gets the reflection of the trees, of the sky. Everything is just so perfect. You feel like you're in some kind of movie, but you just aren't. Or you feel like you're in some kind of animation, but you just aren't. Everything is so much more lifelike, and if you completely have never downloaded this mod, directly you do it, you feel like you're in some kind of new generation of Minecraft. Everything is so much more lifelike, everything is so much more realistic compared to the normal blocks you're used to and the normal shades you're used to. Everything is just so real. You might be used to the normal Minecraft settings and all that kind of stuff, but directly you step foot into this one, you just get used to it and you just learn to love it. For this one though, you also need a really powerful computer because so much is rendering at the same time and there's so much going on. But if you have a fair good computer, there should be no problem at all. This is such a great mod to be able to download, and as you can see, everything, it's so much more lifelike, it's cinematic, as I said already. One of the biggest things that you might notice is obviously the water. That's one of the biggest major reworks I think to this whole thing, is the water. And also in nighttime, it's such a good setting to be able to have, because the torches, the sky, the moon, everything, the glowstones, the pumpkins, everything is just so much more lifelike, and it's a perfect thing to be downloading. And let's not forget a quick tour into the Nether. This is also very lifelike. The lava, the fires, everything is just so real, and you actually feel like you can't touch it. When you get close to this fire, you feel like you got to stay away. But compared to the normal one, it isn't that, I'd say, scary. You get close to it, but you feel like you can still survive, you run through it. But with these fires, you feel like they are actually really dangerous. And it actually scares me to look at this lava and get close to it, because it's just so real, it's so bright, and I just want to kind of get out of the Nether because it's that bad. At number 7 we have the Extreme Weathers mod. One of the reasons why I love this one so much is because you can create like tidal waves, you can change the weather to make it extremely windy, you can create tornadoes as this one right here, and it's so enjoyable. But obviously one of the biggest pains is that you try it out in your own world and you completely destroy everything. So that's really funny, and one of the reasons why I love this one so much is because it just doesn't get boring. You know, you can create huge cities and then you make your tornado go straight through it, and then just looking at it afterwards is like, you know, that was completely worth it. And that's definitely one of the reasons why it's at my number 7. They have not spared any sort of settings in this mod. They've used so much effort into it. They throw blocks around, it sucks people into the tornado. It's really interesting, and it's definitely one to be downloading. At number 6, we have the helicopter mod. This is also a really interesting one because you can fly aircrafts around, you can use torrents, and these aircrafts have, you know, you shoot weapons from them, bombs, machine guns, all that kind of stuff, and there's a lot more interactive. One of the reasons why this is a lot higher than some of these other mods is because this one actually involves you doing a lot more than just standing there and looking at the mod go and do its old thing. Like the tornado mod, you don't really get involved much, you just stand there, you follow it around and you look to see what it does. But this one is a lot more interactive. They have gone really far with these settings here, and as you can see, it's one of the most awesome mods I have seen, but it's definitely going to stay at my number 6 for certain reasons. As you can see here, you can lift off, you can shoot weapons, and there's so much more to do with this mod that just meets the eye. It's definitely one that should raise your interest, and if you have obviously any questions, just post them down below and I'd love to reply to them. But this one is definitely at my number 6 and it's also really interesting. At number 5, we have the Optifine mod. One of the reasons why this one's really high up on my list is because it's really handy, it's really good for the majority of us players, because any person that has lag on their computer, or even a slight lag, this Optifine mod will definitely help you out. It speeds up your computer, it gets more of the RAM into Minecraft, and it really speeds up things for you, and that's one of the reasons why it's really high up on my list. It definitely personally helped me out before when I was getting about 10 frames per second. It raised it up to about 15 to 16. It is still not that fast, but it definitely helped me out before when I had my old computer, so that was definitely really handy for me, and it makes the game a lot more enjoyable when you have better frames per second. If you obviously have a laggy computer, this is something that you should be looking into, because it allows you to use better settings, it allows you to use higher settings, create like shades, that kind of stuff, and it's definitely really handy for the majority of us, so that's why it's at my number 5. At number 4, we have the damage indicators mod. One of the reasons why this one's also really high up on my list, because you see almost everyone using it. Maybe not the same damage indicators mod, but you see everyone using the damage indicators. It doesn't have to be the specific one, but that's one of the reasons why it's really high up on my list. It's very handy, you know, I love to know how many more health my monster that I'm attacking has. It works with every single monster, and that's also really handy. One of the things I love about it the most though is that, just say you have downloaded a new mod with maybe mutated creatures, and it's just one of the best things to know that you are really close to killing this monster, because sometimes you just hate it so much when you've done like 100 hits and you just don't know how many is left. So this is also really handy for so many things, including other mods, so that's one of the reasons why it's at my number 4. Closing in into our top 3 now. At number 3, we have Galacticraft Mod. This one allows you to create ships and travel to Mars, to the moon, and there's just so much you can do with this mod, and that's why it's at my number 3. It's definitely something that you just have to try out once in your Minecraft life, and if you haven't tried it out already, it's something that you should plan to try out, because it's at my number 3. It's really fun. I've tried it out myself, and there's so much you can do with this mod, and it's really different, so that's why it's at my number 3. There's quite a few reasons why it's at my number 3, and one of the main reasons is because it's different, and the imagination to this one, it's very diverse. You know, traveling to the moon and with this sort of settings is really fun. Once you reach the moon, there's obviously things you can do there, like search for new ores, new monsters, and get ready for fights, that kind of stuff. There's so much you can do here, and that's why it's also at my top 3. You know, it just doesn't stop by, you know, traveling to the moon. There's obviously things you can do elsewhere. At number 2, we have the Mutant Creatures mod. One of the reasons why I love this one so much is because you can create mutant creepers, mutant skeletons. You know, there's so much you can do with this mod, and I personally love that you can get mobs to fight against each other. You know, they just hate each other and just want to fight, and seeing who wins a fight is one of the funnest things you can do in the game. You know, just sitting back, looking at two monsters fight each other, it's quite fun once you think about it. So that's one of the reasons why I love this one, and it's quite risky. I love a bit of adventure, and I love a bit of risk in the adventure, so it's definitely really fun. And it's one of the weirdest things you can play in the game, because it's something you just can't do without this mod. So that's why it's at my number 2. And at number 1 we have the Lucky Blocks mod. One of the reasons why this is at my number 1 is because it's slowly creeping up into the most downloaded mod in the game, and that's why it's personally at my number 1. It's really fun because you just don't know what's going to be inside that box, and it's also really scary because there could be anything. There could be a reward, there could be a creature to fight, so that's why it's at my number 1. It was really hard for me to figure out which one should be at the top, which one should be at the bottom of my list. And overall though, because these are all in my top 10, it's pretty special for them all to be at my top 10. I'd say that I went through about 100 mods and these are my top 10. So that's something quite special for these ones to be at my top 10. Of course, if you have some other mods that you wish that should be on this list, don't forget to post them below. And of course, I would love to have a look at them if you suggest them. So don't forget to do that down below in the commentary area, and I'd love to watch them. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe if you haven't done so already. Peace out.